go live. I'm doing it.
Do it. I dare you.
For pickles. Pick the peppers. Instagram. What's going on? I know it's YouTube. I was just looking at my Instagram and I said the first thing that came to mind, and that was Instagram. And gang, you already know what it is. Welcome to the friggin' show. I'm Styles the Prophet.
The show.
And I'm Jonesy.
I felt like it's too soon for me to swear. You guys, this is the 4G podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Happy mother friggin' Friday. There.
It's Friday.
You know what? Actually,
Cheers, boys.
Have I sworn yet at all? It's a couple weeks. Well, I've actually been debating an episode where I try not to swear.
Let's make it happen.
And so I'm
Challenge.
What's the penalty for you do swear?
and that's so that and that too is so the this won't work tonight. I gotta drive, but I have this many times. It's like I'm just gonna go and do. I originally was gonna do like the joint swearing.
Yeah.
Start small. And then I was like, maybe I'll try and do like a whole episode without swearing, and that'd be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But just not long ago, like sometime in the last week or two, when the idea came to me again, I was like, it'd be cool to do like a drinking thing, right? So every time you swear, drink a drink, or like whatever, right? Oh, for sure, yeah. And then especially once I start drinking, I'll probably start swearing more.
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing. But so yeah, why not? Let's do it. I mean, like I said, I don't know any punishments or anything.
Right, yeah.
But
that will fit the...
I'll try and do it without swearing. We also...
could do the penny, like $1 in a jar thing, but I mean...
I do things... Oh, like the reaction videos with Bully and stuff like that. Or like the food things that I was doing. Yeah. And I'm like... A couple times I swore... And like I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't swear anymore. Especially with those things, like with the food thing, I'm getting people from all over the world and stuff. Right. And like, even the last two ones I did were at the Flavors of Kerala. And he has like a bit of a community that he sent the videos to and stuff.
Oh, of course.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want to like I'm like kind of representing him in a way, even though it's my shit. I'm like kind of representing him. So, and then even Bully said with the reactions that we just gotta like not swear. We'll leave the swearing up to them.
Yeah,
you know, like in the music.
Unless it's like, oh fuck,
because it's like, well, yeah, and like even too, like we could edit in sounds for that stuff too.
Right.
But no, either way, I just think that not swearing has a better appeal.
Put a little cat over your mouth.
The only thing is that. Excuse me. In this setting, I think that swearing is okay,
appropriate.
I think
appropriate because this
is one of those things. If you do it too much,
well, that's
it becomes like abrasive,
tasteless.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
If
yeah,
you're doing it to like emphasize a point or like there's a comedic sort of like timing to it.
Yeah,
it works.
No, and that's it. Yeah, like there's definitely too much swearing.
It's like that one thing that I did on TikTok. That one episode that like I forget who was on and I forget which episode it was, but I made a TikTok video of all the times you said fuck.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's just one episode.
One episode, yeah. I do remember this.
I mean, you've gotten way better since the beginning. And that's for sure.
The thing is, and this is probably explains why I've gotten better, but I find that I swear a lot of the time. Most of the time, it's like emphasizing something,
right?
And sometimes something that doesn't need to be emphasized that way. But the rest of the time is because I'm thinking of something, you know, like I'm
like a filler word.
Yeah, I can't think of the fucking thing, you know, and it's like, but I did it as an example. I swore for an example, but you know, it's like, yeah. So I'm like, my point is I think the reason why I've gotten better is because I've gotten better at thinking and talking and like getting my point across and coming up with the words that I need instead of swearing.
Absolutely.
I think that's there's a sort of thing that you can like. I guess I'm just sort of doing it now. Like instead of saying and ah or like
you find other filler words,
just don't say anything. You know, let the silence hang and like think a little bit.
Yeah, it's very normal to
continue your thought process.
Right.
And the more you do that, the more likely it is that it just becomes like habit not to go, you know what I mean? And then you just continue your thought process.
Yeah, I do a lot of talking, even if it's not on the show, like just in real life too, like where I will go further than like, or like the fuck, yeah. Sorry, another example. But instead of doing that, it's gone now. I completely, but I'll say things like I'll just start saying stuff like, oh, it's the thing with the other thing. And like, but it is no hint or anything. I'm just saying stuff.
Things.
Almost just to keep my turn talking. You know what I mean? Like, as long as he's talking, we can't talk. So it's like, I'm just going in a circle, It's like, it's the guy with the hair. And like, he was at the thing the other time and like, whatever. But I think that sometimes ends up messing me up even more because it's like,
you lose your train of thought.
Yeah. I just confuse myself by saying stupid stuff.
We've had lots of examples of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's one we should do is cut out all the like. Where was it going with that?
Cut out all
How does that relate to this?
All the not swearing, I guess. We were talking about.
No, he's saying.
No. That like
use that as an
like
example.
cut out all the times where I say that.
Oh,
where was it going with this?
Yeah, right.
It shows how much it happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Oh damn! So actually, last night I went to.
I was just about to ask.
I went to
the Mr. Jones show.
Mr. Jones show. We had Mr. Jones on last week.
Shout out
Mr. Jones.
We got
the week before we had LT on the show, and I hit up Mr. Jones and was like, "Hey, you know what? This guy hasn't performed before. Can I offer him a slot on this show?" And he blessed us both with that opportunity. Us with the opportunity to offer that to our guest.
And did he kill it?
With the oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was pretty good. And Affy was there too. This is Affy.
Yeah.
I just saw a video of him doing his set, I think.
There was a bunch of people that I didn't know. Actually, Anka was there. You guys remember Anka?
Anka, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw him. I swear he said, he definitely said something to me.
Yeah.
But it might have been in French, or he just has a really French accent. And we're in a club and it's loud and stuff. But as soon as I walked in, he turned and he said, "Hey, there's fucking whatever or something."
Yeah.
But he didn't know who I was. I thought he was saying like, "Oh, there's the
guy." Yeah.
But he didn't know because and I didn't know who he was. So I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, cool." And I walked away. And then later he was standing there, like, man, I'm like, this guy fucking looks familiar.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, man? I'm like, this might be that fucking Anka guy. And then I tried looking him up on Instagram. I'm like, yo, that's him.
It is, yeah.
So then later he's like, oh, yeah. He said something to me. And I was like, dude, I'm like, fucking, sorry, man. I'm like, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I'm like, we had fucking Soul Physical on the show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. He's like, oh, yeah, girl.
That was a big night.
I work with them, whatever, yeah. But, so, a bunch of stuff happened.
Yeah, what went down?
So, like I said, there was a bunch of artists that I don't even know. There was actually fucking probably 80% of the people in there I had no fucking clue who they were.
Yeah? Did you hand out some cards?
Funny thing is I didn't.
Yeah.
It's funny because there was enough people, there was Mini Guinea was there, right?
Oh yeah.
Shout out Mini Guinea.
Yeah, shout out.
He was there. I talked to him for a bit. He's like, this is my buddy. He fucking does shit. Here, link up.
Right.
He's like, it's my other buddy. He's like, link up. He's like,
right.
Their Instagrams and shit. So we're trading shit.
Okay.
And then, but it seemed like there was one of those people in every group type thing, you know. To. So it was one dude I forget. LT introduced me to his buddy, his filmer dude.
Okay.
And he raps and shit too.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then. Affy introduced me to his friend and stuff like that. So there was somebody in every group that kind of got me in wherever.
Right.
But then I was talking to fucking Anka and I was like, yo, I'm like, I guess he doesn't know who I am, so I should tell him.
Right.
But we just did
kind
it
of a big deal.
Instagram. Yeah, no, but
I don't know if you know, but
I just was like, yeah, man, hey, we had Soul Physical on the show. We do the podcast. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah. And actually, this one dude, we're standing outside talking. He goes, man, he's like, do you know the guy putting on the show? Mr. Jones or whatever? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And he's like, you're friends with him? I'm like, yeah, I can call him if you need me to or whatever, right? But I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, because I've been trying to like, I want to do some work with him and stuff, and like, oh, whatever. I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, you're an artist or whatever? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, where are you performing tonight? He's like, no, but he's like, I want to try and get some work with him or whatever, like try and put on a show. I don't know. He was doing something, right? But he's like, oh, doing this and that, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I could like introduce you to him. Like, he's just inside, like whatever. He's just, no, I'm leaving, whatever. So I already talked to him, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, so how do you know him? Yeah. And I'm like, actually, we had him on our show this week or whatever, right? He's like, oh, what show? And I'm like, oh, we have a podcast. He's like, what's it called? I'm like, 4G Audio Podcast. He goes, 4G Audio. Holy fuck! That's where I know you from. He's like, man, all fucking night. I was like, man, this guy looks familiar. He's like, that's where I know you from, man. I've seen that show before. Yeah, whatever. Right. I'm like, sick, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man. And the thing is, I actually had a fucking handful of cards in the car. And once I got there, I was like, oh shit, man, I don't have cards. And like, everyone was like, oh, the one dude goes, he was with Minnie Guinea. He goes, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Malcolm, a little bit. But a little bit like softer, sort of like not softer, but like softer. I guess he wasn't like as like aggressive or whatever. Malcolm's not that he's like, hard. Yeah. But no. So this guy, he goes, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't bring any cards. Like, oh whatever, yeah. He goes, oh man, he's like, Instagram, yeah, whatever. He goes, because what did he say? He goes, because your boy got a phone. He got data, and he paid his motherfucking bill. I was like, nice, man. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's awesome because that has been an issue, you know? Like, people are like, oh, yeah, I had you when I got home or whatever, you know? But anyways, yeah, no, a lot of people, I guess what I'm saying is even with the cards, I still have made some links with people. I've actually already started to book 2 different people.
Nice.
Gave them some dates and stuff. But anyways, so on the show. So there was some craziness happened there. Down. And so I told the story to Bully last night, and it's funny, he goes, you really like trying to paint the picture for me, eh? You know? I was like, think about it for a bit, and like, okay, and I like try and explain everything perfect, and like, so I've tried to find a way in my head to cut it down. I think I just made it longer, but but anyway, so there was this guy there at one point. So he was there all night. There was a guy there. At one point, we were outside, and okay, so actually, wait, rewind. At one point,
you just started.
I know, yeah, no. At one point, he walked by me, but he was like kind of head down like this and like going through the crowd, and I was turned this way, and then I turned this like towards him, but I didn't see him. I just happened to turn this way.
Yeah.
And then he like kind of came through the crowd, and we both kind of like met face to face. Okay. And I was like, in my head, like I honestly almost said this out loud. 6'9".
Yeah.
This guy looked like, I shouldn't say he looked like him. He just sort of had like braids and stuff, and like he was wearing like kind of cool glasses and stuff, like just like regular like seeing glasses.
Right.
And he had a bit of a like skin tone to him, you know.
Okay.
But I don't know this guy. I just met him by popping up in the crowd, you know. So I'm like, I don't want to say this to him, you know. So I was like, oh, in my head, like, oh, 6'9", yeah. So like, okay, whatever. So then later we're outside, and he's walking around. He's going, fuck 6'9", fuck Treyway.
Oh yeah.
Fuck this, fuck that, fucking. But earlier I heard him over in the other group yelling "Scum Gang" and all this shit. So he's yelling "Scum Gang," which is society can't understand me. It's a 6'9" thing, and then he's yelling "fuck 6'9", fuck Treyway," all this shit, whatever. But everything he says, he's saying like he sounds like fucking 6'9". He has like the what do you call the accent and shit like that. Like he sounds like he's like Mexican and fucking Mexican and Brooklyn mixed together.
Right.
And he's like, so he's walking around yelling all this shit. I'm like, dude, this guy is yelling "fuck all these people that he looks like," you know,
right.
Like, you know, like fuck the person that he looks like. And I'm like, that's crazy, yeah. And then he comes over and he comes around like the group of people, and he comes up to me and Dan Wild, shout out Dan Wild, and he's like, oh, like blah blah blah, like whatever. And now he's talking. He's got like a Jamaican accent.
Oh fuck.
Dan looks at me and goes, did his fucking accent just change to Jamaican? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, it's just a show. Like he's just putting it on, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, all this stuff happens. Nothing's crazy. It's just I have now been introduced to this guy in the sense of like Dan was like, oh, he's been here all night, he's hammered, right? So like now I see what's up. Other than just walking through the crowd, I see this guy's all fucked up. So I'm like, okay, watch out. He seems harmless, but at the same time, he's like ready to fucking do whatever needs to be done, you know? So I'm like, all right, cool. He's just rowdy. So I'm like, all right, yeah. So later, fucking, we're outside. No, it's hard because some of the things I wasn't there for, like I guess I walked out the door right when a bunch of shit happened. But I guess he was outside, he was heated, he was like trying to fight somebody, and then like it all got settled, whatever. So it's like, all right. He was there because he was with the party bus with the limos and everything.
Oh, right, with Mr. Jones.
And so he was like, I feel like he had an immunity. He wasn't like allowed to get kicked out, you know?
Right.
So then
he's there with the show, basically.
So later, oh sorry, I just fucking. Like
so the show's happening all while.
Oh yeah,
this is going
like,
on.
Yeah. And then I'm spending way too much time on the first part of this story, but so they.
Well, we now know this guy is definitely someone to watch out for.
So then fucking, I guess later. He fucking smacked this chick's ass, which I think was Anka's girlfriend. Shout out Anka and his girlfriend, by the way. But so I guess he grabbed her ass or spanked her ass or whatever. And then there was this ruckus. But I guess when that happened, I had just like walked out the door, and this all ensued behind me, and I didn't hear whatever. So Dan later was like, "Yo, you didn't see that shit?" I'm like, "No, I guess I just walked away." And then he. And then I didn't see the shit happen. So I come back inside. There's this girl that was there that was like cleaning up for the bartender and stuff. And like she was like, "Oh, are you the bouncer here and stuff, whatever?" And so whenever I come back inside, she's like, "Come over here, stand with me, like whatever." So she's standing in front of the stage, which is just like a step up, you guys know. But
yeah.
And this guy's standing on the stage. And it looks like she's like trying to stop everyone from going on the stage. And so I go and I just stand beside her because I also feel like she's not asking me to like get in the middle of this. She's asking me to like stand with her and like protect her type thing. So I'm like, okay, so I'm standing beside her. She's like holding my arm and shit. And then she like runs away. And then all of a sudden like just everything's normal. The show's on and everyone's standing there. The guy's gone. Like I'm like, okay, cool. Like whatever. Yeah. So I stand there and watch the show for a bit, and she comes back and she's like, "Hey, like, where'd he go?" Or like whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't even know. You just told me to come stand here. I don't even know what's going on. So then we turn around and fucking Dan starts running outside, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And we all run outside, and like him and this girl were like fucking beefing or whatever. And so that's why Dan ran out because he was like, "Hey, like, looks like they're gonna fight."
Right.
Like, he's a guy and she's a girl, and so he ran out, and then like, do you guys know Casper Kingdom?
Yeah, I've seen him on Instagram. Yeah.
So his dad was there. Him and his dad were there.
Oh shit, okay.
And we saw him perform before where his dad came on stage with him and performed with him. Yeah. And so they were standing kind of off to the side, but everyone's kind of like still like in some kind of beef, and everyone's yelling and stuff like this, and like some people are trying to back down and like whatever. And this one dude had a beer outside that was with Casper and his dad, and like he's just a little guy, but he had like a cup of beer, and like he was like ready to go. Like he was standing there, and he literally just all of a sudden was like, "Ah!" And he just started running, and like the fucking Casper's dad like grabbed him and was like, "No, come back here." So he took him down the street. Yeah. So then they come back to get Casper, and they're like, "Come on, man." And the dad's like, "We're fucking leaving. Like we're getting out of here. Fuck this, right?"
Yeah.
And the fucking kid turns and starts running again with the beer cup in his hand because he's like standing there. You could see him. He's like, and all of a sudden he's like, "Run," you know?
Yeah.
And fucking so the Casper's dad grabs him again and whatever, and then he's like, "Guys, we're fucking leaving. We're getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
So everything calms down. Everyone's apologizing. 6ix9ine's like, "Oh, sorry guys," like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah.
So now he's like, "I've apologized to this girl multiple times. I'm really sorry."
Right.
Like whatever, blah blah blah. So everyone's kind of like squash sort of, but there's just like this tension in the air.
Right. Yeah.
And so then this girl that I mentioned earlier, she comes up. She's like, "Can you just like make sure nothing happens out here?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not anyone's babysitter."
She's just like, "Where's the biggest person around here?
You gotta help me, like whatever." She's like, "I have to go in and do this thing." I'm like, "I have to go in. Affy's on stage. I have to go film Affy."
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so then, there was something else happened later that was just like a little like two people chirping or something, and everyone was
Okay.
sort of like, okay, whatever, like still in these same groups of people, you know.
Right.
So now it's later on, whenever this guy has performed, the 6ix9ine guy had performed or whatever, and he lip synced the whole time. But and horribly too. But
Damn.
sorry, man. But oh, and also too, I forgot to mention, whenever he changed accents earlier in the night, he started freestyling to us.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Like live.
Oh yeah, like
on
it was
stage,
like
yeah.
no, like right
yeah.
on the
To you
sidewalk.
guys outside,
Like,
yeah. Okay.
It was like the Big Mac. I pull up on the side of them with the Big Mac like McDonald's. He's like right beside them with the Big Mac like McDonald's. It's like
man.
I'm beside them in traffic with it. And he's just saying the same thing
Yeah.
over and over again. And then he turns, he goes, "Oh, I'm just freestyling, guys. Freestyle." They're like, "Oh no, yeah, it's good, man." And he turns and he's like, looks at me like he's gonna say something about me. He goes,
Yeah.
"Big guy pulling up on the side with the Mac, like the McDonald's or whatever." It's like, what the fuck, man? And then he said a bunch of stupid shit, and now he's like, I guess he won't be able to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care, man. I'm like, I don't even know what he fucking said to us. But so anyways, yeah. So now we're all inside. The show's pretty much over. There's like, they're playing a song. I'm seeing them like taking all the stuff. There's limos, 2 limos outside, right? So I see them taking all the stuff to limos, and I want to get outside because I want to talk to Mr. Jones. And we were already planning on leaving. Like, we were like, hey, we're leaving, whatever.
Right.
They're gonna finish their beer, we're leaving. And so then this girl comes, the girl that was like trying to get me to play bouncer, and she's like, hey, everyone is in the limos, like, come, we're leaving, right? And so I was going outside because I wanted to go get her number, and I also wanted to say bye to Miss Jones.
Yeah.
And funny thing is I just before this happened and we were all heading outside, I texted LT. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm like, did you take off? Because he disappeared.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I guess he answered me right away, but I didn't see it until later after all this fight shit happened. And his answer was, yeah, I left. He's like, before anything popped off or whatever, you know, or like any craziness. I'm like, oh, how do you know about the craziness? And he's like, oh, like what happened? I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
So then now I'm like, hey guys, let's go. So we're all leaving. We're walking out. I get to the point where I'm like I'm just about to step up on the stairs, and I hear like the fucking room shook, you know, like bang, and then like smash, like glass breaking.
Yeah.
I turn around, there's fucking like 4, 5, 6 dudes like fucking like flying through the air, like falling on the ground, rolling around. Fucking Casper's dad standing there. He's fucking just gushing fucking blood out of his face.
Crazy.
Fucking some dude just turns around and just whips his cup. I don't even know where it went. I just heard it smash.
Yeah.
So then now fucking they're all fucking fighting. Everything's going on. I'm like, okay, wait. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. I like, you know, what do I do? Because I'm like, who is this? Who is this? I'm like, who's who and who's like, what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and I'm just standing there, and all of a sudden Dan runs across the room. He's like, what the fuck? And I guess like the 6ix9ine dude had like punched fucking, sorry, the guy's name is Nilla, I believe.
Yeah,
Nilla Young Vato
Nilla
or
Ice.
something. So I'm only calling him 6ix9ine guy because I'm putting the picture in your head of what he looks like.
Right.
And that's all I know about him. So anyway, so this 6ix9ine dude, I guess, had punched the fucking old dude that owns the bar.
No way.
Yeah, man, and that's why Dan jumped in. The fuck, I turn around because I'm like, yo, Dan, like, hey, you know, like, what the fuck? He like runs in like ready to go. I turn around, the fucking old bartender dude has fucking Nilla in the fucking headlock, which is funny because earlier some shit popped off, and I'm like, oh man, I just want to like grab him. Like, if we're gonna neutralize this situation, I just want to fucking choke him.
Right.
And
where is that old guy from?
From Russia.
I was gonna say Russia, but
Russia
I didn't want to touch the fucking strings, you know.
My instinct would say, isn't he some like old Russian guy? Like, well, he'll fucking like he seems like.
Oh yeah, don't
like,
fuck with him in his bar, man.
Every fucking table and fucking bar stool and shit is like fucking on the ground or whatever, right?
Crazy.
So I go through. So I see him choking the dude, and I was like, okay. And it's funny, he wasn't choking him for like maybe 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And this guy's like,
no way, he's like actually tapping,
like crazy tapping, like oh my god, like, and it didn't even look like he was holding him that hard.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and that's the epitome or like an analogy to like how this guy was all night.
Right.
He's like outside, fuck 6ix9ine, oh whatever, blah blah. But as soon as he's face to face with someone who wants to fight, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I said I was sorry, and like, oh whatever, right?
Man.
So now it's like. Punches a dude, gets choked out, and he's like ready to tap, right? Yeah. So now, also, while all this is happening, I look over and I see. So at some point, I look over and Casper and his dad are just standing there, like holding each other, like fucking, like his dad's like fucking bleeding out the face,
crazy,
and like whatever, right? So his buddy, he's just a little guy. He like runs in and grabs this dude, and they start like fighting. and fucking I come over and I start moving tables, like they were all like flipped and shit.
Yeah.
So I started throwing them behind the bar and shit, and I started pushing everything out of the way so like people aren't falling
fucking
and dying
tripping
and shit.
and
Like, so I push everything out of the way. I'm like, okay, I basically set up my fucking like area. I'm like, all right, let's go. So I set everything up. And I'm like, because now I'm at the point too where I have to get through this to get out. Like, I either go and hide in the back room or I get out of this, right? Or I like go through this, right? And also at the same time, like Jeff's there, fucking Mr. Jones, he's trying to pull people apart. He just doesn't want to fight at his show, Good Vibes Festival, you know? The old lad, I don't want any trouble for him. The girls just staying there freaking out. So like, I need to like do something. If I can do something, I might as well, right? So I look down and I see this guy rolling around on the ground with fucking Casper now. And I'm like, yo, because Casper's dad was holding him and his buddy back and shit. And so now they're rolling around the ground. I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I'm like, I went to go over and I was just going to fucking reach in and just pull the kid out. And fucking grab him. And because he's like on the fucking ground. So I go do that. Well, his buddy fucking runs past me like this and fucking grabs the dude and fucking starts fighting him, right? So now there's fucking Jeff and fucking some other dude. They're both trying to pull these guys apart. So I go like this, man. I just grab the little guy. I just grab him by the fucking jacket and I just started pulling. Like, just kicking my feet, pulling them back. And I could not fucking pull this kid. They were linked, man. Like, they were fighting, you know? And I'm like, crazy. So I'm like, fucking pulling. I'm like, man, I don't know what to do, man. I'm like, what the fuck, right? And still now it's like escalating all around us. There's also this guy, mind you, while all this is happening, this one dude got like thrown onto the stage. He's like this haggard looking dude. He's like yellow fucking shit. But he just has this one big dreadlock hangs out the back of his head. And then the rest of his hair is just kind of like curly fucking whatever. And so I'm like, while all this is happening, I'm like keeping an eye on everyone, right? So while this is all happening, he's on the stage and it looks like his fucking
I just picture you in this like sea of commotion, just like
separating
moving chairs and like separating people.
And this kid, I'm like, yo, this guy's foot seems really itchy all of a sudden. So I'm like watching him while this is all happening, and I see him and he's like doing something with his foot. And I realize what he's doing is he's taking his sock off. So I'm like, this guy's got a weapon in his sock or something, right? So then all of a sudden he just like emerges from a group of people and he's standing on the fucking stage swinging this sock with like, I don't know what.
Something hard in it.
Swinging around. I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, I need no part in this. But actually that happened when he showed himself with the fucking weapon was after this happened. But like I said, I grabbed this kid. And I'm trying to pull I say kid, I don't know how old he is. He's just small, dude. I grab him and I'm pulling. I couldn't fucking pull him. I look over, I see fucking Mr. Jones. I see this other dude, and now like the old lad's trying to get into, you know, like these guys are like locked. And I'm like, fuck this, man. If I can do something, I'm like, let's go, you know? So I go like this. So I was holding the kid by the waist sort of thing. I went like this and I grabbed the back of his shirt. So I'm pulling back. And then I go like this and I just lean in and I fucking hammer the big dude like that he's holding on to. Literally, man, like I almost fell over. They just fucking poof, fell apart. You know? Fucking poof. Buddy falls back, he gets on the stage, and then he just stands on the stage for like the next couple minutes, just like watching everything go down. I like grab the fucking Kleenex and I give it to fucking Casper's dad and shit. And I'm like, you guys, I'm like, just fucking chill right here. I'm like, stay the fuck right here. Everyone's like, everyone out, just get the fuck out. The fucking bartender's going to call the fucking cops. Fucking whatever. Mr. Jones, like, everyone just get the fuck out. Everyone just leave. Like, this guy needs to, like, you know, like, leave this man alone, you know? Everyone just get the fuck out. So I turn around and I'm like, yo, you guys stay the fuck here, because like now Casper's fucking bleeding all out the mouth, fucking his dad's fucking bleeding out the head. I'm like, you guys just fucking stay here, and his buddy clearly wants to fight. So I'm like, you guys just fucking stay here. I'm like, seriously, I'm like, just fucking, you guys chill. I'll chill with you. I'm like, I'll make sure no one fucking touches you. Everyone get the fuck out. We're pushing everyone out. Whenever this one guy comes in, he's like, Jeff, he's like, you gotta get out of here. So I run outside too now. I'm like, but at this point, I'm done. I'm done with everything. I've made my way out the door. I'm done. But I just like, on my way out, I'd like to see what's going on. You know? So I run outside. There's like a mob of people standing around this fucking guy with the fucking sock full of whatever. No way. But they're like all moving together towards the middle of the street where this fucking 6'9" dude's standing, and he's got fucking brass knuckles on and shit.
Holy
and I felt like the Terminator too. Like I was like, like brass knuckles, like. But yeah, so they're just like, and they're getting ready. They're all fucking, you know, banging their chest type thing, and I was like, the fuck? And I looked at, it was like Affy or somebody. I'm like, yo, you guys out here like fighting with weapons and shit, whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? Next thing I know, this guy that's swinging the fucking thing, him and two dudes are walking towards me. He's staring at me and he's swinging the thing. I don't think he was walking towards me. I think he just conveniently was walking in my direction and staring at me. But I like looked behind me to be like, what the fuck? This guy's looking at me like, what the fuck? And so then all this happens, whatever. The fucking one limo is just like, it skirted off so quick, man. There's people falling down in the back of the limo. Mr. Jones comes out. He's like, what the fuck, man? He's like, where'd the limo go? There's still another one there, but he's like, where the fuck did the limo go? Yeah. So the other limo driver takes him aside and he's trying to explain to him what's happening while all this shit's happening. And fucking, it's funny, Dan Wild's like, yo, he's like, thanks, man. Like, yeah, I respect you. And he's like, trying to say bye to Mr. Jones. And he's just like, yeah, man. All right, cool. And he was like polite the first time, but then he did it like a second and third time.
Right.
And he's like, man, he's like, yeah, I get it. He's like, it's cool, man. He's like, I have some shit to deal with. I'm like, guys, he's dealing with some shit. Get out of here. So we split up. They went their way. They were like, we're going this way. Yeah. See you later. And I was like, I gotta go over here by myself. Like, I gotta walk through this shit and go to the parking lot in the dark and shit, right? Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right, see you guys later. And I walk away, man. I swear to God, I tell you right now, I did this. I fucking typed in 911 on my phone. And I was like walking down the street, like kept looking back and shit and looking back and looking back. I'm like, what the fuck, what the fuck? Because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking dial this shit. But I was telling somebody last night, they're like, man, like I would have just, if someone pulls up, I'm fighting them, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna stand there and call the ambulance or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm like, because at the same time too, like you're not gonna call them and like. There's no scenario, especially me. I'm not gonna run my way away from them until the cops show up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And at the same time too, I'm ready to go. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it's a very like not logical thing. It's like, oh, you think you're gonna have time when someone jumps you to call the fucking thing, but they can like find you, right? Yeah. So if I call the thing and throw the phone on the ground or whatever, and then fucking like fight my way out if I have to or whatever, and then they can either show up to clean me up or clean them up, you know? But anyway, so I'm walking, I cross the street, I cross over the other street, and now like for some reason I happen to go into this parking lot. There's like you go through here where it's just like wide open fucking parking lot, or I've went between these two vehicles. There were like a fucking big like chip stand and like a bunch of other shit. I don't know why, but anyway, so I go into like the dark part of this fucking parking lot and I hear people like yelling from like back behind me, and I'm like, oh shit, I turn around, I'm like, oh fuck, no one's looking at me, like nothing's happening, but I'm just like freaking out, like going to the parking lot with my key and like get into the car and shit. I'm like, holy fuck, man. But, and not Crazy. That I really thought anyone was fucking after me, because in reality, I did hit the one dude, but like all I could have done worse. Right. I just wanted to separate the dudes. Flight's over, you guys go outside. These guys will stay in here. Yeah. Fucking whatever, right? But I just was like, I don't know what the fuck. What do these guys think? This guy's swinging a fucking sock with change or some shit in it. Who knows what he's thinking, man? Like, fuck, for all I know, he's just like switches and like he thinks I'm one of the dudes, right? Exactly, like, oh fuck,
I'm gonna fuck with this guy now.
So all that happened. I'm like, okay, fucking see you later. So I fucking holy shit, crazy, yeah. So I'm talking to Afi, and I don't know if it was last night or this morning, or whatever. But Afi's like, yo, man, he's like, did you see the craziness afterwards? And like Afi was pretty drunk. I shouldn't say that. He wasn't like noticeably drunk. I just know that he was drinking, and he also expressed to me that he was super hungover. Okay, he said he's hung. He's like, this is pretty funny. People say like hung. Yeah. Like instead of hungover, like I'm hung.
Pretty hung.
He says, I'm hung like a horse who got drunk last night. Yeah. I was like, that's pretty good. But no, so either way, regardless, he's like, yeah, you see what happened afterwards? I'm like, I think he doesn't realize like I was there. Right. And it happened, And like, yeah, man, like whatever. He's like, no, man. He's like, because I was like, I split up with you and I left. Like you left and I left. Like we saw the same shit. Right. He's like, no, man. He's like, after you left, I guess things had calmed down a bit because the.
What time did you leave?
Oh, 1 or something like.
Crazy.
It was pretty late, yeah. Because the show was really late too. It said, the venue opens at 6. Oh no, sorry. The doors open at 6. Show starts at 7 or 8.
Or 8.
And like that was like I asked the performers and they were like, this is what it is. I'm like, okay, I'll see you at 8:30. I got there at 8:30. Mr. Jones wasn't even there. Like okay, I don't even think he got there till like 9 or 9:30, maybe even later. And then like
Fashion
I don't think they
started
until show. Like 9:30 or something, or sorry, 10:30 or something like that. Like, and it's funny too, they played the same 3 songs over and over, I swear to God. Like all night. Like,
Yeah.
like the in between music and shit. And leading up to the show for like an hour or two was just the same fucking tunes. I'm like, oh, this is a sick song. I've never heard this before. And then later I'm like, that's that same song again. I'm like, oh, Cameron again. But
was there a DJ there? Like
Mr. Jones.
He was doing
yeah. But was again okay, so then I guess the reason why things had calmed down outside when we were like splitting up and leaving was because the 6ix9ine guy had like disappeared or like whatever.
Oh, okay.
And that was the thing. I also need to mention too that Anka was very much
involved.
There in most of these scenarios because it was his girlfriend,
right? That guy,
and stuff and whatever. And when all this shit happened inside, at one point I just turned around and Anka was standing there. He was yelling in French, and he was like pointing at his face. And I realized he wasn't wearing his like expensive glasses anymore. So I'm assuming they like got broke or like whatever. And so, anyways, maybe I shouldn't even said that, but so I guess what Afi was referring to was that after like I had left and walked down the street, this fucking 6ix9ine guy had appeared again.
Oh yeah.
And I guess
they got into it.
He got fucked. By the sounds of it, like I guess like he got fucked up.
The 6ix9ine guy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Probably the buddy with the sock.
No. I'm not at liberty to say.
Yeah. We'll just
no. It's funny because as I was telling the story, I was like, "Oh shit!" So yeah, no, because I don't know how badly this guy was beat, but I guess one of the gentlemen from the evening had got up to him. I guess a bunch of them did, but I guess he did the damage or whatever. Right. And I was like, that's fucked up. I'm like, as if I'm like, I saw it. But I'm thinking that that's the yelling I probably heard whenever I thought they were yelling at me or whatever. Like I thought people were warning me, like, there's the guy with the sock. Like, the whole time I'm just picturing this guy with the sock. Like, like oh man. Because also too, this guy had like glasses on. He had a white or a yellow toque and a yellow fucking sweater. Yeah. And then he had like say he had this one big dreadlock that hung out the back. And then the rest was like short, like, or not short, it'd be about this long, like curly hair. But he had glasses on too. And like he like looked like, I don't know, it was weird, but without the glasses and the fucking toque on anymore. Yeah. And his hair is just like all over, like, and swinging this fucking thing. I'm like, all of a sudden this guy looked like a totally different dude to me. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like
the beast was
what the fuck, yeah. But yeah, no, it was pretty intense.
No doubt. That sounds crazy.
It definitely got there.
That's pretty good for the good vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's unfortunate, man. That like
there was another date planned for that show too.
7th, 8th, and 9th in April. They're still doing it.
Yeah,
still doing it. Hopefully,
I'm guessing.
Get your tickets.
Mm-hmm. But apparently, though, like from what I understand, a lot of the people that were
causing a ruckus.
I was gonna say I don't want to say causing the trouble. A lot of people that were involved in the trouble were with the limo.
With the limo crew.
And stuff.
Crazy.
I was gonna say they were with Mr. Jones, but I don't know if they were with Mr. Jones or if they just happened to be in the limo with him, because I think it was a fairly open, like not open invitation, but like fairly like loose, like.
Because he wanted like people there to show up.
Anyone could go. Just gotta...
Oh, it was
he can't control people, man.
No, and that's why.
He offered up seats. I'm pretty sure it's just like.
Oh, okay, that's why the one dude was like, well, I think it was that 6ix9ine dude. He said something about it.
Yeah,
they paid to do that.
Yeah, because he was like, oh yeah, you can come. You just need 6. And then someone cut him off or whatever. He's like, no, I don't want to come, or like whatever. But yeah, no, it was pretty intense. It was definitely like, but I mean, it's just crazy too, because like, I don't know, like even like Bully's like, man, I don't really fucking care to get involved in shit like that. I'm like, but I'm at the point where I'm like, had I been like just gone and like walking down the road, I don't really care, like whatever. But not only am I in the middle of it, sort of, but at the same time, like I see this dude. If I assume he got bottled or whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, and I see the 2 dudes that he's with, and I'm like no one's really protecting these 3 guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, they didn't really like the dad really didn't want them in the fight. The fucking I don't know. I felt like I was helping them out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even just them, but like everyone. You know, like helping the bartender and like helping all these people because it's like if
they needed someone.
I'm a big dude and like I don't want to be in there doing it, but if I can like separate some people or whatever, you know, and like I get a reaction too sometimes whenever I pull people apart and like they're like still trying to fight and then they're like
turn around and see you.
Yeah, like, oh, yeah,
if I hit this guy, he's gonna hit me back real hard.
Well, yeah, and like, and like, part of it is like, the fear, I guess. But then the other thing is also too, it's like, you're not the guy, right? Like, I was fighting that guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But and then at the same time, it's like, oh hey, and it's usually the little wiry guys too that are fighting. So then you turn one of them around, they're like, oh okay,
yeah.
But
but they probably think I can't hurt this guy.
And I'm not saying like I'm a fucking hero or anything because I could have fucking got smashed by a bag of fucking pennies, but like anybody else, you know. But
it's just
I don't know. And like I said, the girl was kind of like asking me to help her and stuff, you know, throughout the whole night. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I feel like I need to help the people that need the help, you know, and like.
Well, it's cool that you managed to do it without even getting hurt. As well.
True, yeah.
Yeah, I usually, if the situations like that break out, I'm like not getting involved.
Yeah.
I was in high school,
but I'm like right in the fucking middle of it. It's like bar stools falling around and shit, and like people falling on top of the bar stool, so it's like breaking your legs and shit. So like I just was like, fuck this, man. And then even too, like I probably could have found like a quick way to escape out the thing, but I just I don't know.
Like I'm not anyone's fucking babysitter. I'm not.
No.
Anybody in this situation, you got
unless it's someone you know.
You get yourself out.
I guess they hit the fucking bartender dude too, and
that's
like,
crazy. Yeah, how was he? I guess you never really got.
He champed it.
Yeah,
like after he got hit, he was choking him.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably like a wet noodle sort of punch.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was crazy, and like even too, man. I feel bad, fucking. Because the other thing too is whenever I was a bouncer, they never taught me how to be a bouncer. So like the way I learned to be a bouncer was like
use your body,
try and pull them apart. Really try and pull them apart. Yeah. Try and drag one of them away from the other one. And then just start hitting people. And like sometimes that's just the way it's gotta go. And like so I'm like, I'm pulling them apart and like I see other people helping me pull them apart and it's not working, so I was like, someone's gonna get it, you know? So I just hit the one dude. And the funny thing is I hit him and everyone breaks apart, whatever, and I stumble back and I stand up. And Mr. Jones is right there. And he's like, I forget what he said. Like, he's like, oh man, like what the fuck, or like what are you doing, or something like that. And I was like, oh, sorry, man, because I'm like, I feel bad because it's like, you know, it's his show, and like, I'm also assuming that guy came with him, so I'm like, or like, not him, but his event. So that afterwards, thinking about it, I'm like, oh, shit, I feel bad. He was like right there, like front row seat to like. The one and only thing that I did all night that was like out of hand or whatever, but it was like, I guess also helped the scenario, like got it all broken up. But I was like, shit, man, like that's funny. I let him down. It was the one guy I didn't want to see that, or didn't want to see that.
Yeah, that's crazy though. What a story.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sounds like an eventful evening for sure.
The night Danielle and I actually started dating is fairly similar, even down to where LT dipped and he was like, oh, before things popped off.
Yeah.
Well, Sarzan was at the party this night and he did the same thing. He left and he was like, man, something's gonna happen. So I walk him to the bus stop. He goes home, I go back to the party, and there was these group of guys that were like huddling around or whatever for most of the party. Some things had happened, but I like went to walk out onto the deck and this guy like comes barging through, like pushes me out of the way, right? And then like you just heard like faces getting smacked, like punch, right? And then this chick just screamed and this dude came with a coffee mug and smacked this guy in the face and it like kind of broke. And he like punched him in the side of the face a few more times and like everyone scattered and shit. And this dude just like he lost his eye and fucking was like,
that's wild.
One of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. And like Danielle and I were the ones, like I went to the door and I was like, can you get like a rag for this guy? And I like went and put a rag. Like, cause and then like there was like EMT, it was like a deer field.
Yeah.
So there's like that security there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so they came, and then they had some stuff or whatever, and then crazy, man.
Shit.
Yeah. But there was it was like a big fight. There was like this one dude getting like thrown around by these group of guys. Like someone would come punch him, and then another guy would like pick him up, and then someone else would come, and just punch him. And then me and this one dude, we were there with like the people who had the party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we broke that up. Like we kind of like were like fucking got in the way of a couple guys, and fucking it wasn't a huge scrum, but like they all just like kind of fucked off after that. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Crazy.
And you get alcohol and
yeah, whenever you mentioned about
locked away for 2
yeah,
years and they finally get out and they're like, let's start a fight.
Yeah, that's actually the 6ix9ine. I was gonna call him 6ix9ine, but the 6ix9ine guy even said something like that. Like I said, when he was faced with the like fight scenario or like the like confronted or whatever, he was like different dudes. Like, oh, sorry, like, oh, whatever, yeah. And like he gave a big speech in front of everyone. He like stepped off the sidewalk. He's like, I haven't been out in 2 years. And like, oh, whatever. I'm just trying to fucking whatever. I'm like, it's a good point because it's not an excuse really, but at the same time, it's like
have a good time.
Maybe I did that, but you don't know that you did it because of that. Like, you know, so maybe I did that because I have been locked up for 2 years, you know, and it's like, all right, you know, like you might not even realize that it happened because of that, or like that you made that decision because of that.
Something that just came out of you.
Yeah,
it's like all bottled up.
But I also don't think that was his context or narrative or whatever.
Right.
Based on, I won't say, but intelligence. But anyways, no, and it's funny with the drinking and shit too, because like I said, whenever I was bouncing and stuff, I'd see like, and it's it's just weird too. Like it's people remember things differently, so then it's like later they're like say something, I'm like, okay, yeah, you definitely remember that differently. So I'm like, now I understand like how it went that way, like whatever, why you were in that situation, because you thought of it differently at the time or whatever.
Right.
But I don't know. The other thing too is there's a lot of people that just want to fucking fight.
Yeah, I find that. Yeah.
But whenever I worked as a bouncer, they never really taught me, and the first like real big like fight that happened, a bunch of dudes broke out. I saw it like happening. Like I was like, oh, I feel like these guys like aren't gonna get along, and then they like. It was like they texted each other and like meet at the fucking pool cues, and they all like group B and group A were walking towards the pool cues, and they all like got to the pool cues and were just like,
it's like the Warriors type shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm like, I better run over there, but I'm like, there's a bunch of dudes, and I'm like, where's my other bouncers and shit, right? So I'm like, hey, like I kind of like I'm a big dude, right? So I'm like tall, like hey, call them over and shit. I'm like, hey, come here. So and then I run over. But by the time I run over, the fight has like moved around the pool table a little bit, and it's kind of like focused on these two dudes. And as I walk up, like as I'm still a bit away, but as I'm just walking towards them, like a good chunk of them like sort of walk away, and then it's just like the two dudes basically. And even like once I get right up to them, they basically just sort of like stop, and like the one dude takes off and runs upstairs. And I found out later he ran away because he was on probation. But so he runs upstairs, and I grabbed the other dude because I'm like, okay, I don't know who's on what side and what side started it. I just know that they were all there fighting. So I'm like, you're the only one left here, and you were in the middle of it, like you're gone. So I grabbed the guy. I'm like, okay, come on. So we're going up the stairs. The front stairs, Finnegans were dark. Like. There was lights, they just weren't on that night, and so it was dark, and we get like partway up the stairs, and fucking, I guess the dude who had ran away was standing on the stairs, so he like comes out of the darkness and starts fighting the other dude. Meanwhile, everyone's running up behind me to try and go out to like fight, and I'm trying to pull the guy down the stairs, the guy I had, because I'm like, yeah, I can't. I was trying to push him up the stairs, I couldn't push him up the stairs. And I'm like, even then, I push him up a couple stairs, and this guy's still fighting him, right?
Yeah.
Giving him a disadvantage against this guy. I try and pull him down the stairs to the point where I'm like literally like all my weight, but I'm leaning on all these people that are like trying to get up.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Fuck. And I turn around and like, do you remember, what's his name? Corey Mullen.
Yeah.
He's like from the UK
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. He was a pretty quiet guy.
Yeah, man. He was standing behind me and fucking. So I turned around because he was standing with me, talking to me at my little station or whatever, right? So he just happened to still be there.
Okay.
So he was like squished in the corner, and I turn and I see him. There's all these people coming up, and someone just came over and just fucking hammered him in the face.
No way.
I just watched his face like squish and like explode and shit. But not only did that happen, like they hit him so hard, like his face squished, but then he like bounced off the fucking wall.
Right.
So I'm like, holy fuck. So I'm like, now, like, I'm like, this guy who doesn't deserve this is getting hit. And I'm like, everyone, I just need to like neutralize the situation, I call it. And I just, man, I fucking held the fucking dude that I was holding. And I fucking leaned back like this. I just fucking came down on him, man. I almost punched the stairs behind him, man. And he fucking scattered. Everybody scattered. Fucking everyone ran away. They're all fighting down by the pool table. So I go in and start pulling people out of the fucking fight on the pool table. This fucking one guy jumps up on the pool table, comes across, fucking hits the group of people that are fighting by the pool table. I just turn, fucking hammer him. He just sits on the pool table. He's like, no, Styles, no. Runs off the pool table. Or I was like, get off the fucking pool table. He gets off the pool table. There's blood all over the pool table. There's blood all over the floor. It looks like someone's murdered in the washroom because my buddy's face fucking exploded everywhere.
Yeah.
Fucking, so all of this fucking breaks out, whatever. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, fuck this. So I go outside. I'm like, everything's done. I'm like, I go outside. I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm trying to cool down and shit. I was standing there, and this guy was standing, like, down a little bit. And he's like, oh, fuck. His hand was fucking hurting, obviously, right? And I was like, weird. I wonder where he was fighting. Because I didn't see him in that whole big thing. Like,
Yeah.
He was a fucking big dude. Well, I didn't see him. It was the Joel Corbin, if you know him.
I do know him.
So I'm like, fuck, I didn't see him in the fight. Like, oh, whatever, yeah. The next day I was like, I went like this and I like touched my head. I was like, oh man, my fucking head hurts right here, man.
No.
And I think it was like Harley or somebody, but I said that and they're like, man, they're like fucking Joel Corbin fucking like smashed you in the fucking head.
And you didn't even
whenever
notice
I leaned into this kid,
yeah,
and everyone kind of broke up. He came across and fucking hammered me. And I just turned around and started fucking grabbing kids and hitting kids and whatever. I had no clue until the next day, man.
That's crazy.
But then I realized, I'm like, that's the guy that was outside holding his fucking hand, like fucking like whimpering and shit. And I was like, oh, and I just went outside to cool down. So I'm standing there.
He broke his hand.
And he probably knew the whole time what happened, but I didn't. I was just like, oh.
Karma's a bitch, man.
My point in saying all that is just that was the first fight that actually broke out whenever I was working as a bouncer.
Right. And
they never taught me anything. The first time I started working there, they said, here's your shirt. It says security. You're supposed to
be intimidating.
You're supposed to have a license to wear a security shirt.
Oh,
you
right.
have to go through the course and stuff.
A bit of a training thing.
So he says, here's your shirt. We don't have any staff shirts, so take the security shirt, but it's illegal for you to wear it. So if the cops show up, just take it off and you don't work here.
Crazy.
I'm like, okay, cool. And then that was my training.
So if it gets real bad, you're just off.
First fight happens, I'm like, okay, yeah. And like I said, I was in a situation where I couldn't push the guy up the stairs. I couldn't pull him down the stairs. I need them to stop fighting. I need these guys to stop trying to crawl up my back, you know? Yeah. So I'm like, someone's getting hit, man. I'm like, whoever wants it, you know? But then that's what I did. Like, a lot of people like laugh. Like my buddy Bones, shout out Bones. He's like, fucking body shots, John. Oh, almost dropped it. But yeah, so because there was this one night and these kids were fighting. It was whatever. Anyways, I won't even get into it. But this guy was misunderstood in a situation that I knew more about than he did, just because I know the people that the situation happened, and like he even came over and was like, this guy like hit this girl and stuff, and I was like, I know for a fact that he did not hit her,
right?
And because I know them both very well, and I'm like, and if he did, it was playfully, and it was nowhere, like, you know, it wasn't in the face or like, you know what I mean? Like there was no, you're misunderstanding, man. So then they're like trying to fight, and we're like, okay, everyone just fucking leave. The bar's closed, so just fucking leave. And then the one dude was like, man, he's like, I'm just gonna finish my drink. Like, okay, you have a drink, you can finish your drink. Everyone else get the fuck out. And I was like, but like your team go at the front and your team go at the back. Okay. So the guys go out the front. They're at the top of the stairs yelling and screaming. So then all these guys I just told, like, my, like people that I know, I told them to go out the back door. They all fucking run up the front stairs because these guys are yelling and shit, right? Now this fight is at the top of the stairs. So everyone's fighting at the top of the stairs. I run up to the top of the stairs. There's a bouncer just standing there watching. And so I run up and I'm like, I got to do something. So I'm grabbing, like, this one dude, he's like my size. Like, he's, and I played hockey with him all my life and shit. So I don't really want to necessarily, like, do anything to him.
Right.
But at the same time, I need to get past him to get the guy who initiated this fight and get him out so that they can't fight anymore, you know?
Right, of course.
So this guy's in front of me, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to, like, pull him around and shit. I'm, like, pushing him. Can't get him to move. So I fucking hit him maybe 2 or 3 times in the fucking kidneys.
Yeah.
And, like, at one point, he just kind of, like, turned around. He's, what the fuck? I'm like, fuck out of the way. And I, like, pushed him out of the way. And as I pushed him out of the way, this guy that he was beating, all of a sudden just fucking feet up, 2-foot kick. So I push Buddy out. He kicks me. And I'm going down the stairs.
No.
I fucking grab the big guy like this, and I grab the railing like this. I'm like, and I come back. I just pull myself right back over top of the dude, and he's still trying to, like, kick. I just fucking pull his legs apart, and I just start going bang, bang, bang. I, like, roll the kid over a bit and just start hammering him in the fucking kidneys, like, as hard as I can, because I know that that's not good.
Yeah, it hurts, man.
When I stopped hitting this kid, he was legit, like, crying, laying on the ground, like, rolling around, like,
wincing,
and, like, tears in his eyes. Anyway, so all this happened. So my buddy's like, holy fuck, I just saw you throwing these vicious body shots. He's like, oh yeah. So he had this nickname for me, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, and at the same time too, like, even though I'm a big dude, I don't think I'm powerful enough to just control people, especially big dudes like that.
Right.
So it's like, I'm now like, hey, I can't pull this dude away from that dude. I can't push them both to the ground.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Someone's getting it now. You know? I need to do my job.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, I don't honestly, I don't like when people tell fight stories, because I feel like it's like them trying to, like, be tough or, like, show how tough they are, because, like, a lot of people that I know that do talk about fight stories, as soon as the fight stories come out, it's like, oh, I have 10 stories to tell you. It's like, well, I have 10 stories to tell you too. It's like, well, let's tell them all right now. You know?
Like, if, like, fight stories, like, initially the one you told was, like, you weren't involved in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a fight that I guess you were involved, like, slightly.
Yeah.
But, like,
wasn't the guy fighting.
Yeah, like, when you're telling a story about, I got into this fight and I beat the shit out of this guy, then it seems like you're just doing it to be, like, a show off kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I'm good.
Okay. I actually have a stand-up bit where it's like people tell stories, people are like about people talking about fighting and stuff, and they're just like, they're just doing it to, like, sound tough or whatever. But no, and I only told the other ones just to be like, that was my training. I was just thrown in with the wolves, like, here's a fight. You're the bouncer, like, go.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
you
cool.
have the security shirt.
Yeah. But like I said, it's like, I don't know, get in a situation where I'm like, yeah, I can't, like I said, I can't pull the guy down the stairs, I can't push him up the stairs. These guys are fighting right now. Like, my buddy's face just exploded over there. Like, what the fuck do I do other than fucking curl up in a ball or some shit, right? So it's just like, fucking hit this guy, like, hit that guy, whatever. I will say too, though, and this,
just to de-escalate the situation.
So this kind of contradicts exactly what we were just saying, but the one dude that I hit and I almost punched the stairs behind him, he, like, fights. Like, this guy, like, they remember when they had the Parliament Hill hockey game thing? Like, he went there and, like, him and a bunch of dudes fought a bunch of dudes, and this guy fights. And so he said this to me multiple times, and in front, like, to a group of people, you know, it's like, I've been hit a lot of times. The hardest I've ever been hit is by this guy right here. He's like, still to this day. And, like, but even then, whenever I say that too, like I said, that contradicts the whole, like, trying to be a tough guy or trying to sound tough thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I would say that I totally sucker punched the kid. He was, like, fighting some other dude. And I just grabbed him and fucking hammered him.
Right,
I had every fucking, like, chance to set this kid up. So it's like, you got hit really hard by a guy that was set up to hit you really hard, you know? Like,
right. But
so, again, whenever, I guess I only say that to be like, I'm not saying, oh, I'm a tough guy. It's just that situation. But, like, anyway, all of those last couple stories just relate to the first story in the sense that it's like, I was never really taught certain things and like whatever, you know. So it was either fucking chokehold some dude or fucking punch some kids, you know. And like, or if you grab them and they like stop and they'll walk out the door with you, then cool, you know, like, whatever. But if I grab you and you're still fighting, I'm gonna have to hit you or your buddy, like, whatever, right? And so basically that's why I reacted that way last night, is just because I'm like, I feel like I should help these people that are like all like fucking dying around me, and then there's innocent people in the area too, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, you know, whatever. So like that's my training. That's why I dealt with it that way. But
that's it, man.
Yeah, that's a weird, like,
comes with the role of being a big person, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, like I've never even considered like what it would be like to actually be a bouncer in a situation where something actually like goes crazy.
It's because
sucks too, because
I don't want to get myself, like I said, I don't want to get myself in the middle of a situation. You're fighting, get the fuck out of here. Like,
well, it sucked because it was in Renfrew too, and like I know a lot of people, so like, might even be two people I know that are fucking fighting or some shit. You know what I mean? And I actually fucking grabbed a dude I know in a chokehold, and he's just a little guy, and like I knew it was him. Yeah. But there was a couple issues with him that night. And I was now under the impression that because he got the better of the guy on the dance floor. Right. So now I'm just under the impression that this guy is sick moves. I'm just thinking that I need to stop him. He seems to be the issue. There's the one in the washroom. There was the thing over here. Now they're over here, and he's actually like dummying the kid. Right. So I grabbed the kid and I put him in a chokehold, and fucking he fucking like hit, like he was like slap me or whatever. But then he kind of I like loosened up because I'm like, I knew who it was, and I'm like, hey, I wanted to grab him, but I don't want to like kill him, you know? So then I kind of like loosened up. He's like, man, he's like, stop. And I let him go. And he's like, man, he's like, whatever, blah, blah, it was this guy. And then like one of our buddies came over and was like, man, he's like, that guy fucking all this shit. And they like explained the story to me. I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm like, because I just looked at it as like, you're causing shit all around the bar. You know? Well,
see, like, I guess your only role is really to show everyone who owns the place.
Yeah, it's true though. Yeah, assert extreme dominance.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I watched around the room last night. Everyone's fighting. Like literally, man. Like everyone's like rolling around the ground. There's tables falling beside us. There's like people falling on the tables. There's shit breaking. Everything's everywhere, and I'm just like, all right, yeah. And like I do this thing, and like I said, man, there was a few guys standing on the stage, and the guy that I hit was just standing there. He was like, and he's just staring like through me or like in our general direction. And I'm like, does he know that it's me? And he's standing there and he's mad and he's like, can't do anything about it or you know, whatever. I don't know. But either way, it's it was intense. Oh, but it's I just to go along with the asserting dominance, that's what it is that it's like, I don't think this way. Like, it's not that I'm like, I think this is just like a analyzation of myself or whatever, or of people in general. Yeah. But it's like, if I could go around and stop this fight real quick and stop that fight real quick and stop that fight real quick, and everyone's just standing there huffing and puffing, and I'm just standing there like, oh, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, it's his house or like whatever, right? Yeah. But at the same time too, like I'm usually scared all the time. Well, no doubt. It's like even in the middle of some shit, like I'm like scared.
Fucking high adrenaline, you know.
Yeah, and like anything can happen, right?
Gets every like.
That's why it's like get yourself in the middle of a situation where someone's got like fucking, you know,
survival instincts.
Or fucking,
man,
survival instincts.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I wouldn't voluntarily put myself in the middle of any situation.
Well, and that thing too is like I was fucking bouncing on like a little Renfrew bar. Yeah. And like once I had bounced there and stuff like that, then put myself in other situations. Like even say like last night, I would not fucking bounce at that bar. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would not bounce at. I wouldn't bounce at a bar downtown unless it was like I mean, and I'm not saying this because it's a strip club, but Fairfax, or somewhere like that, like you can tell, like they move like militant. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's a like strong word, but like I would be on that team. You know what I mean? But not just like the guy wearing the shirt at the front door type thing. Like, like we got Steve here. Yeah. He's just gonna stamp your card and separate fights and stuff and take drunk girls outside. There was actually this guy though. Speaking of drunk people, we'll try and switch the topic. I'm sorry, but because I realized that story not only took a long time, but it was a lot of fight talk. So let's lighten it up with people almost dying.
Yeah.
No. It's coming, I promise. So so I was standing kind of near the wall. You know, like the whole room is like a fucking long rectangle, and then the washrooms like shoot off down the hallway thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of stood like around there with like LT and a few people and stuff. And so like people kept walking by me, and like I said earlier, there was like the girl. I thought it was the fucking bouncer for the washrooms and stuff and whatever. And just I guess big dude standing at the end of the hallway, like whatever. Mm-hmm. So everyone made a comment about me like fucking being the bouncer and like watching the washrooms and like whatever. Or they would just come up to me and go, "Did you see a girl with like whatever, like this and that, like go in there?" I'm like, I don't fucking know. I'm just like you, like I'm just here, man. Like, I'm not watching. Some guy comes up to me though, he goes, hey, he goes, "My friend is missing." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Oh no, sorry, I have to go back. He says a bunch of French.
Sounds like a murder mystery or some shit.
A bunch of French stuff, and I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Ah, blah 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 blah." It says a bunch more French stuff. I'm like, I think I answered his question. So I'm like, "No, I meant like, no, I don't speak French." And he was like, "Oh, well, my friend's missing." And he's like, he's a little fucked up, you know? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, "I went around the block. I went everywhere. Like, I don't know where he is." I'm like, "I don't know, man. Sorry." Like, yeah. So, I'm sorry, man.
You're tall. You can see him, right?
Yeah, and he didn't even like describe the dude or anything. He's just like, "Oh, I want to know where this guy is." I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry, man. Yeah. He goes, "Okay, yeah." So a little while later, this girl comes up, and she goes, and she's standing waiting at the washroom. And she comes over and she goes, "Do you know if there's somebody in the washroom?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm just standing here, you know? I'm like, no, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. She goes, "Okay." So she goes and stands there for a little bit. And then the guy's washroom opens. She goes in there, right? And so she leaves. Then this like group of girls comes over and they like stand there for a bit. And then like, "Hey, do you know there's someone in the washroom?" I'm like, I don't know. But I'm like, there was a girl here a little while ago. And like, now I have been keeping tabs on the washroom because I have like marker points. But I'm like, it's been a while. So I don't know. Maybe like there's not somebody in there. Like whatever. If someone's dying. Like, I don't know. So I'm like, yeah, no. I'm like, it's been a while. Yeah, whatever. She's like, "Okay, can we open the door?" And I was like, I'm not sure. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, so I think they like leave. Or no, they're still standing in the hallway. So then this guy walks up to me, or I think he was walking by, and I stopped him and I was like, "Hey man," I'm like, "just a clue," but I'm like, no one has been out of the girls' washroom in a while, and like whatever, and like maybe your buddy's in there, right?
Yeah, right.
He's like, "Can I open the door?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't give you permission to open the door, like whatever. I don't know. I'm like, he's like, "Oh, what if I do and it's a girl?" He's like, "You know, he's like that I could get charged for rape or something, you know, like whatever." And he's like, "I don't want to, yeah, whatever." Anyway, so then I think he actually ended up asking the girls to open the door or something like that. But I
proper though.
Once he walked away, I just wasn't paying attention anymore. Yeah. Whatever, yeah. I'm standing there, I'm talking to people, whatever, and then I was like, "Oh yeah. That guy. I wonder if he's in the washroom." And I look over, they got the door open like, 6 to 8 inches, and there's a guy laying on the floor under the fucking sink, and just like he was like kind of had his head up a little bit and his eyes open a little bit, and he was talking to the guy, but he was like
just really drunk,
looked fucked, and so I'm like, "Yo, Dan," I'm like, "Look at this guy, he's fucking passed out of the washroom." He goes, he's like, "That guy earlier, it was 9:30 p.m. and there's couches in the back room." And he's like, he was fucking laying on the couch, like dead. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I was like, "No way, man." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So this guy's just been here all night. Like, fucked up.
7 o'clock, just got fucking hammered.
Yeah, so at least you found your buddy. Yeah, so time went by, man. This guy was just in the washroom, door closed, like, and still people walking. I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" I'm like,
and the fight.
There is a guy in there. I'm like, he is not using the washroom. He's just laying on the floor. But I'm like,
just walk over him.
But I'm like, I can't do anything about it.
And it's in the chicks' washroom too.
Yeah, and it's like, there's only 2 washrooms, and they're both just like one toilet, like one personal thing. Fuck. But yeah, it was just fucking funny. And then later on, I see Buddy, and he was sitting on the couch in the back, and like just like slumped.
Yeah,
He's got, like a duffel bag on his lap, and he just holding it, like just fucking pass right out.
Oh
But
man,
I was thinking it was probably like drugs or something.
yeah, could be
Maybe he was leaning real hard.
leaning. Yeah,
But I was thinking too, maybe like M or something, because like whenever I would do like MDA, I would like get not sick. I was gonna say sick, not sick, but I would like.
Oof.
I would just be standing in the middle of a party, like, oh yeah, what's going on? Yeah, like whatever. Oh, and I'd be like, I don't know, like if I'm gonna pass out or like maybe shit my pants or like whatever, like I'm just like something's like wrong, Like, I would just be like, oh, like to the point this happened all the time, to the point where like people had, like, my buddy had a spare bedroom, and like whenever we would have parties, I'd go to his house, like, oh, everything's set up in there, there's like some water and like this and that and whatever. I'm like, oh cool, thanks man. Yeah, because it would just hit me, and like sometimes, man, if I didn't have something like that set up, I'd just be standing at a party and I go, oh fuck, and I'd lay down right where I was, and I would just lay there for fucking 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and then I'd get up and be like, oh yeah, everything's fine. I remember Sarzen, he had a fucking couch, and it was what did they call it, man? The 86 Cool Cat or something like that.
Cool Cat.
And because it was just like an old ass fucking like futon, I think, or something like that. But not your traditional futon. It was weird. But anyways, we're sitting at the house, and I was like, man, like, fucked up, man. I can't stand here anymore. I just lay on the floor, man. And he's like, dude. He's like, there's a couch over here. I'm like, yeah, but like they're sitting on it, He's like, no, man. He goes, I don't care if the fucking queen herself is sitting on that couch, man. He goes, you hit that point. He's like, you fucking tell her to get off, and you lay on my fucking couch. Because there's other stuff, like, you know what I mean? There might even been other couches even too,
chairs and shit.
And so I'm like, ah, cool, man. Yeah. So I go over, I lay on the thing. Fucking, but now fast forward someday, and we all went out to the bar, and I remember we went to the bar, and I don't, my memory's pretty bad, but I know that I got really drunk, obviously, but I remember something to do with like Crown Royal, and I think like I'm not really one to buy Crown Royal, so I think what it was someone had Crown Royal, and I was drinking it before we went out on top of whatever I was drinking, and then we had taken some MDA, but like I would do this thing sometimes where I would take some whenever I would like leave the bar. So like, whenever we got to the after party, I'd be like hi again or whatever, Yeah. So I did that, and we got back to his house, and he and Adam had brought a couple girls back. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they were like, I didn't know them, but I'm pretty sure like no one knew them.
Okay.
Like before this evening, right?
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me, but so they're sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
And we're standing there, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
I gotta lay down. So I just walk over. Yeah. I just stand over these girls. I go, go.
Yeah.
Get off the couch.
Yeah.
And then Sarzen even comes over. I think it was Sarzen, but somebody even came over and was like, oh, yeah, he needs to lay down. Like, yeah, can you get off the couch?
Yeah.
They get off the couch. I lay down on the couch. And fuck, just boss move, but like on top of it, like no, like I said, I don't think anyone knew them, so it was like, oh hey, like nice to meet you, come over, like here, you can sit here, like, oh, not right now though. Yeah, you gotta go. Like, what the fuck is this about? But so, anyways, all this happens, whatever, blah blah blah. And I'm laying on the fucking couch, and I got my head like this, I'm like, oh whatever, and got my eyes closed. Oh yeah, sorry, I have my sunglasses on, I have my eyes closed. Anyways, I fucking laying there, they got music playing, everyone's like partying around me, and I'm like thinking things in my head. And then all of a sudden, like it was almost like as if I had like fallen asleep a little bit, and then kind of, I think it was just a trance, you know what I mean? So it was almost like I fell asleep for a little bit, and then I like, once I started to like come back awake or whatever, I realized I wasn't thinking. I was like mumbling shit out loud. But I don't know what the thoughts were that were coming out of my head. So I just opened my eyes and I look around. I'm like, what the fuck? And everyone's just partying. No one's looking at me or anything. I'm like, man. I'm like, did you hear what I just said? It was like Sarzen was standing right near me. Did you hear what I just said? He goes, no. I'm like, dude, I thought I was thinking in my head, but I was actually like talking out loud. He goes, I heard you like making noises, but he's like, I don't think you were saying words. And I was like, okay, good.
That makes sense.
Okay, because I'm like, because he's like, what were you saying? I'm like, I don't know. It's just that. That's it. Because I don't know, so it could be anything. I'm like, fuck, man. Shit.
You're spilling all your darkest secrets.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
I think those were good
Those are
times.
though, yeah.
That's pretty much whenever we would have fucking met
Yeah.
around those times.
Yeah.
Shout out
Good
to Saracens.
Shit. Quick story though. It was on the joint the other day, but I called CRA. I'll sum it up real quick too. But I called CRA the other day. I had a couple issues the one day because I didn't have my SIN number and stuff, and that's fair. But
Trying to do your taxes.
yeah, and I haven't been able to do them because I haven't been able to get into my CRA account.
Oh yeah, because you need this thing that's on a certain line of your
No.
whatever. No, okay.
I had it. I would sign in through my Scotiabank,
Yeah.
and it would. I wasn't allowed in it, like even for like a couple
okay.
years, So then, yeah, the first day I didn't have my SIN number. So the second day I call and I talk to this guy. He does like the security questions and stuff.
Right.
Puts me on hold. Comes back. He starts telling me what the issue is. Like he's like, "Hey, so like here's what's up, like whatever." I'm like, "Okay, cool." But he didn't get to the point where like I had the information. He was just starting to say the information, and my earbud fell out, and I caught it, but I hit the button and hung up. And I'm like, "Fuck! Oh man, it's not like I can just call him back or he can't call me back." I'm like, "Fuck!" I'm like, all right, call back. So I talk to this other dude. He goes, "Are you sitting at a computer right now?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, well," and he hasn't done the security questions yet, right?
Right.
I'm like, "No, man." He goes, "Okay, well, I need you to do that because I need the code that comes up when it says you can't get in your account." I'm like, "Okay," but just as an example, I'm like, I had this guy do this, and he was explaining to me like what the issue was, and this happened, whatever. So how could he do it and you can't? He goes, "Oh, we just need the code."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, can we just do the security questions and then you can like figure out what it is? He goes, "No, like I need the code." I'm like, but like this guy was telling me, like whatever. He's like, no. He's like, so like you got to go to a computer, call us back and stuff. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, well, man, I'm like, I'm just gonna keep calling back until I get someone who's gonna like help me properly, And he's like, yeah, if you want, like whatever. And like he kind of gave me some attitude, but I was just like, okay, bye then. Like see you later. So I hang up, call back, talk to this guy, and he goes, I couldn't really hear him. I couldn't really understand him. He had a bit of an accent, and I was also driving and whatever. And I might even been like maybe some bad service and stuff too. But I was just like, can I talk to somebody else? Could you put me on to somebody else? And he's like, yeah. I always said, man, I'm like, I just can't understand you or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude if you think that. Like, I can't really hear you. I'm like, I'm driving down the highway and shit, whatever. And he's like, yeah, for sure. So he puts me on to somebody else. So I'm talking to this other guy who like spoke like just a little bit better English.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, I'm like, can you connect me to somebody else? And I'm like, and he goes, oh, he's like, you just asked me to connect you to somebody else. I'm like, so this is the same guy? I'm like, so wait, I asked you to connect me to someone and then you just came back on the phone? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, can I talk to somebody else then?
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. So he connects me to this girl. This girl's like, I tell her, I explain the whole situation. I'm like, I talk to this guy, I talk to this guy, I talk to this guy. And now I'm talking to you. Can you solve my problem? She goes, yeah. I'm like, I just need to know why I can't get into the account. That's it. Just why. She's like, okay, are you at a computer? I'm like, no, I'm not at a computer. She's like, well, we need the code. I'm like, all right. So I just want to remind you that we're back at caller 2 now, where I need to have the code. She goes, yeah, well, that's because you need the code. I'm like, well, I said, what about caller 1? And he was telling me the issue, but my phone hung up on him. I'm like, is there any way we could like go back to that guy?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, we need the code. She's like, could you just pull over and fucking like do it? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Especially because you're just like telling me to do it, And I'm like, what the hell? No.
Yeah.
I'm like, and on top of it, the other guy was able to help me. Like the guy was helping me, and like now I'm in this situation. She's like, oh, and she just got like so fucking snotty with me and like just like aggressive. And I was like, okay, I'm like, you put me to somebody else or like whatever, you know? And I'm like, man, like what the fuck? And I'm like, you're honestly just like being difficult, you know? I'm like, I'm like, and I was like trying to be fucking pleasant with this girl, but she just like, I'm like, well, what if you just like get the security questions and then maybe it'll tell you something, right? She goes, yeah. She's like, if I do that, she's like, all we can find out right now is why you can't get into your account. I'm like, well, that's perfect because that's what I want is to find out why I can't get into the account. She goes, well, she's like, we won't be able to actually like solve your problem unless you're in front of a computer. I'm like, okay, well then that's my problem. So I'm like, if you can find out a way, or if you can find out why without having to have me at a computer, then can you just tell me why? Because that's why I called today. And then I'll fucking figure out the rest later. And she's like, whoa, blah, 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 whatever. She's like, why would you go through all this process to do this when I can't even solve your problem? I'm like, well, my problem is, why can't I get into it, you know? And it just went around in circles. She's like, oh, I'm not going to sit here and argue with him. I'm like, oh, I'm asking you. I'm like, what did you say originally? I'm like, did you originally say that you can find out why if I'm not sitting in front of a computer, but you need me in front of a computer to solve the problem? She goes, yeah. I'm like, well, that's perfect because all I need to know is why, and that's why I'm here. Like, you know, and you can solve that for me. So, like, can we not just do that? And she just wouldn't do it. She's like, or you can just like pull over. She kept saying that, pull over and like do it. I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, okay, honestly, I'm like, this is going nowhere. She's like, yeah. She's like, because you just want to argue with me. I'm like, no, I want you to tell me the why, and you have the why information. So I'm like, just what the fuck? Did you ever
figure out why?
So, well, then I just said to her, I'm like, I don't even know why you're in customer service. You're a fucking cunt. I hung up the phone, and then I fucking I call back. I talked to this very fucking sweet Asian lady, and I only say Asian because I don't want to mix up the Orient.
Right.
I guess Oriental would be better. But anyways, regardless of all that fancy stuff. So I get this girl and I talk to her and I'm like, I'll marry this girl. Anyways, I shouldn't say that. I just mean like I owe her greatly. But I didn't even tell her any of the situation. I just said, I just need this issue solved. I'm like, I just need to know why I can't get into my account. So she goes on hold for a while and she comes back and she says, it's because you didn't do your 2020 taxes or 2020 taxes. I'm like, okay, so are you telling me that 3 or 4 years ago I couldn't get into my CRA account because I didn't do my taxes from the future? And she's like, no, let me reword that. She goes, it's because you didn't do the last 2 years of taxes or whatever. Right. So like it just happens to be 2020 was the year she said or whatever. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So she even went out of her way to like be nice and explain it to me, you know. I'm like, okay, yeah. She goes, if you want, because I said I need to get into the account to get the tax information to do the taxes, but you're telling me I need to do the taxes to get into the account. Yeah. So it's like a credit card. You need to have credit to get a credit card, but you build credit by having a credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, excuse me. So she explains all this to me. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. How do I get that information? She goes, oh, no, sorry. She's like, yeah, I can mail it to you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck, for sure, yeah. I'm like, then, yeah, mail it to me. She goes, oh, yeah. And I was asking her about some other stuff. And she goes, oh, yeah. She's like, and if you give me your email, I'll send you the links for that stuff and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, yeah, for sure. And, like, all while she's helping me, like, she even, like, at one point, like, was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to read this thing. And then she comes back. She's like, okay, yeah, I sent you another email, whatever. She's like, okay, and I asked her another question. She's like, okay, yeah, I have to put you on hold. I'm going to have to read up on that. I'm like, no. I'm like, honestly, you've helped me way more than I need. I'm like, that's enough. Honestly, I'm like, you've been great. And I gave her a big speech. I was like, I've talked to so many people and all this stuff. And like the last lady was cunt, whatever. And she goes, I didn't say cunt, but she goes, very modestly, she goes, yeah, I've worked here for a long time, and yeah, so she's like, some newer people, they need the code, and I've just worked here long enough that I found a way around it. or whatever. And like, but very modestly. But I was like, wow. I'm like, honestly though, I'm like, you helped me like so good. It's like, if I could tip you, I would. But it worked out so perfect. I have the stuff in the mail coming to me, like all this shit. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, wow. But just to go from the like just different people, you know?
Yeah, man.
And what she says does make sense, because maybe the first guy I talked to was more experienced.
Right.
The second guy needed the code because he's not.
Yeah.
The fucking third chick needed the code because she's not.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
She's focused on.
And hates that she doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, for real. I've had the same experience with like dealing with Bell. They send you in circles, man. I've been far with someone trying to figure something out, and then the same thing, like,
yeah, man.
Like, actually, they'll be like, oh, you need to go to this department, and they'll send you somewhere.
Back to the other
and then,
one?
Like, someone will literally pick up, and it'll be like just the same thing all over again. They'll be like, yeah, I need like, this information.
Call accounts receivable, and they're like, oh no, that's the IT, and I'll send you the IT. Like, okay, can you tell me your situation? This is my situation, and like whatever.
On the other side of the call thing.
Oh, you need to call.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
Like,
and they
you
just
need to call
circles,
fucking accounts
man.
receivable, and it's like I was just there.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
Like, the worst is within the government. They're like, it's different phone numbers. They can't transfer you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you gotta call like 1866 fucking like whatever. You're like,
right.
Isn't this just the government?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like just transfer me to the other guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh no, you gotta call this number. Even too, whenever I call for my to do my tax stuff, I called Service Canada because that's the other thing. Forgot to start the story off with that. I went to Service Canada to go do this, and I walked in. There's like a security guard there, and he's like, "Oh," blah, blah, blah. He mumbled some shit to me because he was wearing a mask, and I was like,
"Oh yeah,
oh shit!" I realized like I can't hear him because he's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I know what this is about. So I'm like, "Pardon me." He goes, "Oh, you can't come in here unless you're wearing a mask." I was like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "It's after the 21st." He's like, like mumbled some shit. So I was like, "Whatever, man." I'm like, "That's bullshit." I'm like, "See you guys later."
Yeah.
So I left, and I was kind of in a hurry too, so I didn't really want to stick around.
Yeah.
So I left, and I fucking called. So I'm like, I just went into Service Canada to do this thing, right? So who would you call? Service Canada, right?
Yeah.
So I called Service Canada, and whenever you go to your CRA account, you go on Service Canada website, right?
Right.
So that's why I called Service Canada. So then I'm talking to the people, and they're like, "Oh no, like if you want, you could like." He was like, it's almost like he was really politely saying like, "You called the wrong place, you idiot." It's like, if you want, like you can call the CRA, like whatever number, and like they could probably help you better, you know. I'm like, okay. Can I have that number? But then it's just like, now I have to call this other person. But I get it. It's different fucking places.
Yeah.
And like, especially when you get into the like provincial and federal.
Yeah.
It's like two different sides of the government. And like, I had a thing. Oh, this might not have been provincial and federal, but I had a thing with my taxes where I like, I didn't, how does it work? The last year of taxes, like, so I was doing last year's taxes and a couple of years before that.
Right.
But the, like, one of the first years I was doing, I worked for myself. So I owed that money. So I couldn't get the other money released.
Right.
To get
that money.
The money from last year.
Right.
So like at H&R Block, if you did 4 years in a row, they'll only give you your check for last year.
Oh, yeah.
And then your other checks will just come from the government.
Right.
So I couldn't, and then usually with H&R Block, you pay for your services with your fucking thing, right? And so I'm like, I couldn't get that money released to pay them for it.
Right.
And it was also expensive because I had to do like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So I couldn't they wouldn't release that money because I owed them this other money. But the tax lady had a thing, like she had some special code number. She called and told them. I had to sit there and like tell them on the phone that she was going to talk for me and like all this shit. And where am I going with this? So she gave them this like code number. They did some reference thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And the one side of the government told the other side of the government, like, it's okay, like we'll get our money, but like just give them that now, you know?
Yeah.
And so she did this thing for me. And I lost it now.
She got your taxes done for you?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. We were talking about the different sides of the government. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
They're
yeah,
the
right,
different
right.
like things.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. So it's done. She's like, no, we have to wait for like the one side of the government to tell the other side of the government. I'm like, but like it's paid and like you know this shit. Well, she's like, that's how it works.
Yeah,
it goes from this guy to this guy, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm just waiting for like person A to email person B, and then like it's fine. And it ended up taking like 3 weeks or something. I'm like,
yeah, that's the government for you. Fuck.
Yeah, like why don't you just walk next door, knock on the fucking door?
Yeah. Shit, man.
But they did that for every fucking John, Dick, and Harry. Yeah, a lot of people walking around.
Yeah.
Oh shit. So I guess before we head out, you guys want to say anything?
Yeah. That's hilarious. No, man. No, those are great stories from Styles the Prophet. The never-ending tales.
Never-ending tales of Styles the Prophet.
Yeah, that's funny because it actually, I was like, oh shit. This is.
I mean, we shared some stories, but
no, true,
yeah.
There's not a whole lot of like topics. Nothing's really been going on, you know. Like if I said anything, it was gonna be stuff that has been going on
just
for a little while, you know. Like so, I'm like, I don't know, fuck, tell that story. But then I thought that would be real quick and it'd be over. And then I looked and I see a bunch of time there, and I was like, holy shit. And I've also been swearing for like the last 20 minutes too.
Oh yeah.
If I was gonna say if not before that too. I've only noticed the last 20 minutes.
Oh shit.
Any motherfucking way. Gang, baby.
Yeah.
You already know what it is.
So 173.
173. I also would like to mention too, we brushed over it last week, but we have celebrated we didn't celebrate it, but we have passed our 3-year mark.
Yeah, that's right.
I always thought it was the end of March, but it's actually the end of February.
Right.
And I thought of that halfway through March, where I was like, I guess it's halfway through March, but I was like, oh shit.
I recall you saying it last week.
Completely missed it, yeah. But yeah, so we've been doing this for 3 years. That's crazy.
Oh,
gang.
Shout out to you, boys.
Give us a gang in the comments.
Yeah.
Episode 173. It's in the books. You already know what it is. Shout out Mr. Jones for having the show. Oh yeah, by the way, LT fucking performed really well. I got a little bit of footage for it. I don't know if the audio is going to be good, so it might not work out that you guys actually get to see or hear how he performed. But
right.
This is Affy, was Fire Like Always. He performed a new song that has not been released or performed live ever before. You already know what it is. Styles the Prophet, baby.
Peace out, everybody. Be show.
Yeah, I'm Jonesy.
Together with Basement Weirdos. It's the 4G Audio Podcast. Peace out.
Peace.
Happy weekend. Happy Friday.